Bloodline Invaders 5, Code Carriers. It's important that you begin to understand that you are a code carrier. We're not taught this in the Western world. It was once known by our ancestors, and I'll show you how. But you need to understand you are a code carrier. Now, we have a hidden enemy. Each of us contain vast amounts of code. You have no idea how much you contain. But the question about this enemy, which is hidden, who are they? Why have they been trying to stop our species from evolving? Exactly what is Wi-Fi? Seriously? There are some people who could hear you speak 1,000 words and still not understand you. And there are others who will understand without you even speaking a word. Let us all listen. From birth, you carry codes. You need to understand that. Within you, there is something very, very precious and something very powerful. Biology says we are who we are from birth. Our DNA is set in stone, unchangeable, but our DNA doesn't account for all of us. We are human. Life changes us. And guess what? So does our DNA. We have now come to the point in our evolution at this point and in this cycle, we understand population, genetics, statistics. We understand these things. We have gotten so good at it that we can go right down to the chromosome level. We can tell a person why they're sick, but we can't tell them how to heal themselves. It's all about DNA, my friends. It has been from the very beginning, and it shall be to the very end, to whatever end is. It is all about DNA. It is more powerful than you can begin to understand. When you were a soul that was beginning to construct your body, you were connected to the creation. Yes, there is a mystery that has eluded us. Some are beginning to see. What we do know is this, that within light, there is light. We know that within life, there is death, but within death, there is life. There is a connection and a continuing, I don't know if it's a loop, as it is so much maybe a circle. There's so much that we still do not understand. We can tell every part of the physical, biological process of forming a human body, but we know squat about what houses that body. We understand genetics. Genetics has begun to teach us something. Maybe our ancestors knew, or maybe it was just an elite few who knew. But today, now, all of us can know. There is great, great mystery within us. Do you know that within you, your children, your brothers, sisters, spouses, parents, each of us, each of our cells contain millions of libraries of Congress? Stop and think about that. How can so much information that we're just now beginning to understand elude us? And what does that information say? Who is it connected to? And why is there so much? Why is it that if a lifespan is merely 75, 80 years and we contain all this code, why? You are a code carrier. You need to begin to understand that. There's much more to you than just the thought that you're hearing in your head now. Our species has always been code carriers. And no matter how many times the slave masters, the tyrants, the gods have tried to keep us down, suppress us, they can't. It is a malfunction from their perspective. But yet the divine source, the creator of all, had a surprise for them. That is us. We understand how we communicate. And the odd thing about it is, it comes out like code. Do you think that this just happened? That our species just one day woke up and a Steve Jobs decided, oh, software, a Bill Gates, oh, this is how it's written. Come on, folks. Wake up. Time to put on the big boy britches. All you gals and guys, come on. Time you start realizing. We know that as carriers, we carry complex codes within us. These codes affect others, and so on and so on. Do you know that you can talk to your DNA? Now, you may say, well, that's a strange way of saying it, but it's really not. I quote to you Mark 11:22 through 24. Have faith in God. Some interpretation says have the faith, God kind of faith. But it says that if you would look into this mountain and say, be ye cast up and picked up and thrown into the sea, and not doubt in your heart, but believe that those things for which you say shall come to pass, you shall have them. Words are power. They're code breakers. Many of you have been asking, how can you heal yourself? Begin to realize you are the master. Think about that. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. Folks, I'm telling you, if you are on the same journey I am, you know. Many of you have written to me. I read your emails. Don't have the time to respond back of them, but we know. The Human Genome Project. I have spoken about this many times, and if you are not aware of it, you should be. This is what busted every religious theology out of the water. I have not met any theologian who can argue the Human Genome Project because it condemns the argument of the arguer before it even starts. You need to be aware of what we now know. Now, when we started out with the Human Genome Project, it was designed to be able to help with disease, as you're reading right here. Again, the overall view of the Human Genome Project has been one of the greatest excitement and positive press, but there are people who have concerns that are quite reasonable, and they are frightened of the things they do not understand. Isn't this true about all things, how we look at it? Whether we become so much of a zealot in a faith that we believe, that we persecute and condemn others, or whether we're so excited and so sure that we have a thought, a process, a product, that we overlook so many things. The Human Genome Project began to explain a lot about us, what make up these forms. And one of the things that I have come to understand is that God is in your brain, folks. If you look at the painting Michelangelo painted, God is the brain. Yeah, I'm chewing that a little bit. We are the way the cosmos, for the cosmos to know itself. We are the cosmos. You may not believe that, but there is so much that happens when all of us are being formed in our mother's womb. Oh, folks, there is so much that if we could only begin to fully comprehend, how much further would we be as a species? You must understand the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made of the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. The human energy. Isn't it interesting that when we're being formed and the codes are being implanted into us, that we begin to decide, and yes, it is you who decides, the feminine to the masculine, but both must exist in order for the independent to exist. And as you can see, that's what complements us. It's one of the great mysteries as our species, the male and the feminine. Who is stronger? Who is weaker? We are technology, DNA skin suit technology. That's what we have. The DNA linkage technology that has been cultivated in a system that is existing outside of universal time. We are truly beginning to understand, my friends, that there is so much more, so much that we have been denied. Our oppressors, called the church, called religion, have oppressed us to the point that it has stopped rational thought. And when we're presented with the facts, we still yet deny. We are the DNA of the gods. And yes, there are more than one gods. There is one that is ultimate. But my friends, if you think for a second in a monotheic position, wake up. I'm not what happened to me. I am what I have chose to become. C.G. Jung. Each of us have made that decision. And you need to say, for those women who are with child, oh, the miracle that's taking place. It's more than just the aspect of physical birth. There is a process that we have been unaware of. Oh, if we as parents could have only understood this. There is within us the vibration. We seek that vibration to match up to the Creator. It's what our lot is. It has to be that way. Otherwise, how could it be that within you, you have millions of Library of Congresses? Unfathomable knowledge you contain. If you could have access to everything that is within you, you would be God. We can map out the chromosomes. We can tell you as who you are. We can map out every part of your chromosome and tell you everything about your life. But what we can't tell you is how your DNA is connected to your soul, and how your soul is the code keeper. One of the miracles that I still ponder is that when the integration starts and the code is being injected, how that still within the woman, how she can have her DNA, but there is that barrier that we call the placenta that produces the child's own DNA. Oh, folks, we are the cosmos. We are the stars. We are the code carriers. We alone can break the codes. I know this may sound strange to many of you, but I'm telling you, this is the truth that we have been seeking. We understand the body, the action, the senses that define reality. We understand the breath of God that's within us. We understand the conscious mind, and we're beginning to understand the unconscious mind. The next is to understand our souls and the power they contain. Living only in the physical, mental, and emotional realm makes energy limited. Tap into the spiritual dimension and energy is limitless, folks. You know, it's so true. You get out of life what you put into it. But really what we never understood was how it affects us inside. Do you know your energy introduces you before you even speak? How many of us have been in rooms filled with people, and there is that one individual that walks in, and for some reason, your gaze, the attention of the room is drawn on that. How is it that those individuals have been able to perfect that kind of energy? You possess it. You know, everything emerges and returns to the fundamental field of the information that connects us to everything. We can do the gene splicing. We've got it down to a science. We know these things, but it's the simple truths that evade us. As you let go of the energy of the old reality, the universe will bring the new in. All space must be filled with a frequency of energy. An energy field that is emptied will be refilled. You have the power to choose the new energy frequency, folks. Oh, people, we're beginning to get a glimpse of it. And what I have seen has blown me away. I can't tell you what I'm seeing, but wow. This is your life. This is my life. It can be measured by the frequency and how we measure up to others. And folks, how we continue through life. It never changes. This energy is you. This never stops. Even when you lay your body down, this continues. So I want to talk a little bit about the conception. Understand this, that the male sperm and the female egg, two separate codes. But what happens when they meet? The integration begins immediately. Oh, such mystery here. If we figure this out completely, I dare say our species will never have to go through another cycle again. Remember, each cell carries millions of volumes. Before you were born, before your birth, your DNA, the DNA that we can't see, that we can't quite account for, was still connected to creation. And when the connection is made, the soul arrives. And in that, we know the makeup that it begins to bond to. It begins to become a part of. It begins to transform itself. The soul. The mystery of the DNA. How complex. We now know we can do the testing. When will they start telling us the solutions? Why is it that we have to die? Why is it that we have to be burdened with any disease? Why? That's the question. Why? If we can do this, then why can't we sequence the genes, the chromosomes, into the proper place and bring healing to our species? It's because we're beginning to understand. It's all connected. All such information, the answers to who God is. It lies here. What, do you really think that this is just because you're in a physical body? Wake up. Our bodies of the earth, they're made of the earth. Our souls are of God. So enjoy the experience called life. Yeah. Enjoy it. You know, DNA is the next internet. So the question I have for you, my friend, when did you begin? And where will you stop? Oh, friends, code, massive power, beyond anything that we can comprehend. We can single out down to where you need an electron microscope to see. But we still ask ourselves, where is your soul? Your soul is the code breaker. So, how do genes influence who we are? Think about that. Does that define your personality? And is your personality your soul picture? Is that what it is? I don't know. Everyone's different. Everything in the world can be measured, but scientists cannot measure the size of the soul within the living body, which is 1/10,000th times the tip of a human hair. And so my question to you is, how big is the human soul? Think about it. So we know what the overall conclusion of the Human Genome Project is. Now they're on the Human Genome Project too. And so now the battle becomes religious, science, truth. Ancient cultures and religions have known. The Hindus have known. They figured this out a long time ago. The Egyptians knew. The Sumerians knew. I also believe the Hebrews knew. It's all about code, folks. It's a genetic code that's within us. Our ancestors tried to tell us. They tried to tell us that it was the healing. Can you not understand when you see what's on that nurse's pin? Are you beginning to understand that your religious teachings have not quite been right? It's about the code of the humanity of our species. So why have we failed? Why have we failed? Because we have forgotten. We have forgotten how to work the code. We have forgotten that we're even code barriers. We have forgotten how to unlock the code. But we're learning. And when we do, things begin to change. Our species has always written in code. Maybe that's why there is no written evidence of former languages. Maybe it's because they, like us, we all search. The duality of who we are. We end up like we're much like God, are we not? Even in our quantum equations. Is it Adam? Is that who we seek? Why are we drawn here? With all of our technology, why? And you know, when you talk about the total surrender of ego and the transformation of our vibration, our brain is what controls our consciousness. We can define it. We can look at it. We still can't define our soul. We know our bodies. We got that down to a T. But yet it's the soul. Folks, the clues have all been laid there before us through people who have nefarious ideas and positions. They've blinded us. But we are more precious to our Creator than gold itself. We are when He holds us in His hands. And I say His, hers, it. So precious. It never stops. Never ends, folks. You know, shapes our language of God. They teach us. Everything is connected. Everything. If you can remember that, you have now just become the key. You are the key. Yeah. To unlock the code within you. Remember from the time when you were still, the soul was getting used to the body. And the codes that you were carrying were now being embedded. This is where we came from. This is where we will return. It's as it was, as it always has been. It's a soul evolution. We're activating and atonement, new functionality of our DNA. Many of us are seeing the transformation. Ideas are flooding. Energy is coming in. Where there was despair, there is now this renewed hope. Energizing, folks. You contain the code. We know now of understanding the physical, the self, the conscious, the subconscious, and may I introduce to you folks, the superconscious. You possess a superconscious. Our ancestors told us this. They told us many times. So who has been keeping us from what we hold? In my next video, Bloodline Invaders 6, we're going to start identifying them. I'll leave you with this. The good you find in others is in you too. The faults you find in others are your faults as well. After all, to recognize something, you must know it. The beauty you see around you is your beauty. See the best in others, you will be your best. Give to others, and you give to yourself. Appreciate beauty, and you will be beautiful. Admire creativity, and you will learn to be creative. Love, and you will be loved. Seek to understand, and you will be understood. Listen, and your voice will be heard. Let's be kind to one another, folks, and let's enjoy the journey.